Welcome back to Winning on Taxes, where we talk about how to make the IRS rules and regulations work for you and make sure you get your rights respected here. So, what we're going to talk about today doesn't sound great, but it can make all the difference, and it's called installment agreements. So, yes, the last episode we talked about a hardship status where you can go if you can prove that you can't afford to make any payments, that you can still do what's called a hardship status, and then you can not have to pay anything for a couple of years, or depending on the state, 6 to 12 months, sometimes even longer. But the main thing is, if you don't qualify for that, and people come to me all the time, I'm not broke as a joke. How can you help me? There are plenty of ways to help. And one of the main ways is through doing what's called an installment agreement plan. And there are many different types of installment agreements. So I have people come to me, $15,000, $20,000 a month in cash. Am I going to be able to get a deal for them and wipe out a ton of their debt? Probably not. You just make too much money. But there are plenty of ways to still save you money through the process. And that's through making sure you only file the needed returns, that you're doing penalty abatements wherever possible, and also that you are avoiding future interest and penalties. So not only do you want to make sure you're not going to owe moving forward, and I keep harping on this because it is so important. You've got to file tax returns on time and pay your taxes so you're not going to owe moving forward. And then people ask, well, what should I pay off first? Always pay off the current year first, and what's left over, we'll set up an agreement with the IRS or with the states. Now, some states will, again, follow what the IRS does in varying degree, and I'll highlight some of those differences as we go through this. But we're mainly going to focus today on the IRS and what are your different kinds of options as far as payment plans. So the first and easiest payment plan is where it's under $25,000. Easy peasy. If you can go in and set up an installment agreement on it, the IRS typically will give you 72 months without question. So if you owe $25,000 or less, you divide it by 72 and figure in an extra 10, 15% for ongoing penalties and interest. And so that'd be about $375 a month, $350 if you can get it low enough. So that's really an easy way to figure out how much you're going to end up paying on an installment agreement. It's pretty easy. You take the total amount, divide it by 72, and that's, if you have plenty of money, that's an easy way to go set it up. You might ask, why would people want to do this? First of all, you can set it up on your own. The IRS has made it easy enough through irs.gov that you can go online, and here's the key. You have to make sure everything's squared away, that you don't have any missing tax returns. You have to make sure you're not going to owe moving forward, but you can go set up your own installment agreement online, and it's going to get easier with time. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to make it easier and make it more accessible to work with the IRS. Do I make money off of some of these installment agreements? Sure. But mainly when people don't feel comfortable doing it themselves. And I'll even ask them, look, is this something you need a professional handle for you? Or do you feel comfortable doing it yourself? And some people are like, I've dealt with them before, no problem. Other people are like, look, I've got other issues going on. This is going to be complicated. Please just handle it for me, which we will gladly do. So under $25,000, no tax lien, no fuss, no muss. They'll set it up for you. And that's pretty much for any kind of tax debt. This is where it gets interesting. If it's under 50,000, if you meet certain criteria, you can avoid that tax lien still, which again attaches to real property. It doesn't show up in your credit anymore, but it attaches to real property, and it comes into effect when you have to buy, sell, refinance, or change who's on the title of the property, transfer the property. So under 50,000, you can go in and still do what's called a streamlined installment agreement. They don't ask about your financials. So if you have the money to pay, you can go in and just set this up without a problem. And again, you still use this rule of 72. So if you take 50,000 divided by 72, gets you around $700. Figure in about $750, maybe $800, depending on the interest and penalties. So you're probably going to end up with a payment plan around between $750 and $800 a month. And if you owe $50,000. Now, under $50,000, this is pretty much a gimme. You don't have to argue about it. You don't have to go through financials, but you do need to, again, make sure all your returns are filed, that you're not owing moving forward. And we're going to dive into this and a lot more. There's so much to cover when it comes to installment agreements after this next commercial break, and we're really going to dive into different options and how they can best help you.